Welcome everyone to another beautiful South Florida day in the shadow of the now great Stonewall Library and Archives. I'm Jack Rutland, the extremely proud Executive Director of Stonewall Library and Archives. And we're here today to welcome all of you to our beautiful new space and to thank you all. I see so many faces out there, people I need to go up and personally thank for allowing us to achieve the vision for this glorious new space you're about to look at. I first want to thank our splendid new neighbors here, ArtServe and the Broward Public Library. We're thrilled to be able to join with them in bringing this wonderful Fort Lauderdale landmark into a sort of renaissance. I grew up coming into this building, and it's wonderful to see it brought back to its original glory. We look forward to working with the Broward Public Library and ArtServe, as we're already doing before we moved here. We look forward to continuing those relationships for years to come. When you walk through Stonewall today, you'll see lots of names of people on the walls, people who have contributed to this wonderful facility. And I hope you have a chance, if you see some of those folks, some of whom are in the audience today, to give them a thanks for all the support they've shown Stonewall. We all know that without these generous men and women, we certainly wouldn't be here today. Their faith and their belief in us and in what we could achieve as an organization is truly immeasurable. I also want to thank our friends and supporters on the Broward County Commission and the Fort Lauderdale City Commission. Their votes to allow us to move into this building were truly groundbreaking and were historic in ways that I think many of them probably haven't begun to grasp. They make me really proud to be a native of Fort Lauderdale, and I'm also very proud that we in South Florida are able to elect such incredibly intelligent people. The other thing I hope you'll do today as you walk through our new building is to remember the names of those people, many unwritten, many unknown, many forgotten, who helped bring us here today. Stonewall is a national organization dedicated to the preservation and presentation of gay and lesbian history and culture. We're housed in a county city facility. Try to imagine me standing here just 20 years ago saying that to all of you. And 20 years in history is about 5 minutes. We arrived today here on the shoulders of giants, and we're washed here on this beautiful shore by wave after wave of hard-won achievement and sheer perseverance. It's the stories of those brave men and women that we exist here to tell to all of you and to the world. I'm a firm believer in karma, good and bad, as many of you know. And I think I probably did something really spectacular in a former life because I am blessed with the job that I'm allowed to do every day here in this great organization. And I have some really exceptional people I get to work with every day. Our board of directors, many of whom are here, never cease to amaze me. When I ask them, they step up, they step forward, and they do whatever they're asked to do. I'm a really lucky guy. Our former president, Dr. Nate Clarfeld, is here today, and he put his heart and soul into Stonewall. And without those conversations he was having all those years ago to get us into a beautiful new space, we would not be here today. Our current president took the final part of the project, carried us over the finish line, and without him, we really, truly would not be celebrating with all of you today. I only wish for all of you a colleague, a friend, and a boss as singularly special as Stonewall's board president, Chuck Williams.
I believed in my lifetime that gays were drug into dark corners and beaten to a pulp in the college I went to, and yet I stand here today as my friends and family, particularly my brothers, would say, you couldn't be any more out than you are. We talk a lot about the gay and lesbian community, and the gay and lesbian community certainly gave us the incentive and the inertia to start this project, but without the gay-straight alliances that we've formed, we wouldn't be here today. As Jack alluded to, our neighbors couldn't be more special and encouraging with ArtServe and the Broward County Libraries to allow us to carve out part of their real estate and make a home. When people talk about the gay agenda, I'll summarize it for you. I'm not a politician. The gay agenda is simple. We want a place at the table with everybody else. I knew I'd get an amen from you. So that's what we're here today to celebrate, that our place at the table has arrived. There are some firsts here besides this historic moment. When you think 3 years back when we were talking about automatic toilets and things like that, and all this unruly gay behavior, to stand here as welcomed as we are with all this political might behind me. We have a gay and lesbian walk of fame behind me. We have a gay and lesbian museum inside. And another first, we're certainly the newest gay and lesbian archive in the country.
Yes.
I'll give you back my favorite executive director.
I want to use the cliche because I'm about to introduce someone who doesn't need an introduction, so I'm going to do one anyway. As the cultural nexus for the gay and lesbian community here in Fort Lauderdale, we join hands with so many of our brothers and sisters here in so many ways, and all our lives touch each other's lives, and we're enormously proud of the role that the BSO plays in our community. We have a lot of friends there, and I know when we need something, they're the people I call. We're really thrilled and delighted today to have with us Sheriff Al Lamberti.
Thank you, Jack, and good morning. You know, shortly after I was appointed back in September of 2007, earlier at the end of in 2008, and a report came out from the Attorney General's office. It's the same report that they've been putting out for a while. It's a report on hate crimes in the state of Florida. And the first thing it talked about was diversity in the state. And it said that Broward County was the most diverse county in the state of Florida. And it talked about diversity by language, race, ethnic group, orientation, economics, all kinds of different barometers. And it said we're the most diverse in the state. But then you read the second part, when you get to hate crimes, it said that we also lead the state in hate crimes. Yeah. And when I read that, it was kind of disturbing because it said to me, you know, how can we be the most diverse and yet we lead the state in hate crimes? And that tells me that we basically don't understand one another. Everyone doesn't realize where we all came from. And I remember as a kid, I grew up in an Italian neighborhood that was half Italian, half Jewish. We had the best of both worlds. My friends and I, we'd go to my Jewish friends, we'd celebrate Hanukkah, and they'd come to my house and we'd celebrate Christmas. So we got the best of both worlds. And I don't see that happening today if we lead the state in hate crimes. And the second part, it was shortly after that, I went to speak at a mosque because I had to do this strange thing that I'm not used to called a campaign. And I went to a mosque. And you know, when I started here in 1977, there were no mosques in Broward County. We now have 4. And when I went and spoke there, a set of parents came up to me afterwards and said, could we talk to you privately? And I said, absolutely. I spoke to them and they said, we have a little problem that our kids came home from school the other day. They have an 11 and a 12-year-old, and they ride the school bus. And on the school bus, they were constantly taunted. And when the kids came home that day, they asked the parents and said, Mommy, why do all the kids at school call us terrorists? See, because they're Pakistani. And they could tell by their name and the way they look, and the kids taunt them. Well, that 11 and 12-year-old, they have nothing to do with, you know, where they were born or their heritage or anything like that. Why should they be taunted like that? Why are we being called terrorists? And that tells me we haven't learned. We have not learned to accept one another for who we are. And I decided at that point we need to focus on that, and that's why we started our Anti-Bias Hate Crimes Task Force, to look at things across the county, engage our federal partners at the FBI who do civil rights violations, the state attorney's office, the attorney general's office. And we need to try to also promote through the community is how do we get a better understanding, of one another. And that's why I'm here today, to participate in this, because we have to do that and bring all these diverse groups together. And we are taking it seriously, and we need to do that. I don't want to be the #1 county in the state for hate crimes. That's not an honor that we want. And when the next report comes out, I want to show that we've taken something, we've brought the groups together, we've learned to accept one another for who we are, and do something about that. With that, Broward County Crime Stoppers is here today. Last week we had a double robbery in the city of Oakland Park. One was on East Oakland Park Boulevard, one was on Dixie Highway, just north of Oakland Park Boulevard. And it was a double robbery. It could be a hate crime. We're exploring that. And Commander Rick Wisbicki is here to my left. He's monitoring in charge of our hate crimes task force, looking at these kind of cases for potential hate crimes. There's flyers being distributed. Our Crime Stoppers van is here. We want to call attention to this case because we think it could possibly be a hate crime. We're not going to know until we catch the suspect, but they were two separate robberies. But we know it's the same suspect, and it's got potential implications of being a hate crime. We've increased the reward, and we want everybody to know that. The normal Crime Stoppers reward is $1,000. With the help of the community, we've increased that reward to $4,000. We have a composite sketch. We're looking at it as a potential hate crime. We don't know yet, again, till we talk to the suspect. But just like the saggy pants robbers were caught with the help from the community, we need help from the community to catch this guy also. There's the composite sketch, a $4,000 reward. Help us bring this guy to justice, and until we look at otherwise, it is a potential hate crime, and we need help solving it. Thank you for inviting me here today. It's been a pleasure. Jack, thank you very much. I appreciate the honor to be able to speak today.
Our next speaker today has been a Stonewall family member for a really long time, and we're mighty glad about that. His sage advice through all these years of trying to get into this building have meant the world to us and to me personally. I always knew when I picked up the phone and called, I would get somebody on the other end. Every email would get responded to, and every time I ran into him at any event, he always would sort of pat me on the back and say, "This is going to happen, don't worry." Not that I ever really worried, but we all have those moments. I'm therefore delighted at very long last to welcome Broward County Vice Mayor Ken Keachel.
Well, first, thank you for that very kind introduction. And I'm here today on behalf of the Broward County Commission to read a proclamation. But before I do that, I just want to publicly say to our sheriff, I think you're doing an excellent job, and the GLBT community appreciates everything you do. I knew from the beginning that this was going to happen. I knew that my 8 colleagues were going to vote unanimously to do the right thing, which they did. And unfortunately, Commissioner John Rodstrom couldn't be here today, but he was absolutely instrumental in ensuring that Stonewall Library and Archives is in this space, and I am always eternally grateful to him for that. So, let me read a proclamation that has been requested by me, the Vice Mayor. That's me, Vice Mayor Ken Keachel. Wow. Whereas the Stonewall Library and Archives, founded in 1973, is now in its 4th decade of operation in Broward County, Florida. And whereas the Stonewall Library and Archives collects, preserves, organizes, and displays material, and also makes material available for general use and research related to the GLBT community. And whereas Stonewall Library and Archives promotes the integration and recognition of this information as part of American society and culture. And whereas the Stonewall Library and Archives has one of the top 3 collections in the United States dealing with these subject matters, and whereas the Stonewall Library and Archives circulating library holds over 18,000 books and audio-visual materials and information, and the entire collection has been computerized and is available on a relational, searchable database. And whereas the success of the Stonewall Library and Archives has been due to the dedication of its staff and volunteers. And whereas in May of 2008, the Stonewall Library and Archives Foundation launched the Capital Campaign, where initial donations totaling $135,000 were announced, along with a matching grant of $300,000 from the John C. Graves Charitable Fund at the Community Foundation of Broward. And whereas on October 14, 2008, Vice Mayor Ken Keachel, Commissioner John Rodstrom, and Commissioner Sue Gunsberger co-sponsored a renewal of the lease agreement between Broward County and the City of Fort Lauderdale for the Fort Lauderdale Branch Library to fulfill the Graves Foundation grant requirements, which the Broward County Commission unanimously approved. And whereas the Stonewall Library and Archives, whose mission is to preserve the history and heritage of the GLBT community, is celebrating and opening its permanent new space on April 3rd, 2009. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Broward County, Florida, that my board hereby designates Thursday, April 23rd, 2009 as Stonewall Library and Archives Appreciation Day in our beautiful county in Florida, signed by our mayor, Stacey Ritter.
Quickly welcome a guest who just arrived, which for all of you who've been following Stonewall saga the last couple of years, you'll know how significant this guest is for us. It's Fort Lauderdale Mayor Jack Seiler.
Yes.
Ken mentioned that John Rodstrom couldn't be here today, and we certainly send our heartfelt thanks to him, another person who tolerated my questions, requests for meetings, emails, questioning about advice. What do we do? Who do we call? Where do I go? He always answered. He was always helpful, and we thank him profusely for all the help he provided. We don't have John, but we have the more lovely Rodstrom here today. Charlotte Rodstrom has been probably our most stalwart supporter and our bravest champion through these last few years. I always feel better when she walks in the door. I know everything is okay, and it's entirely accidental, but I love happy accidents that we're now in Charlotte's district. I'm delighted to introduce Fort Lauderdale City Commissioner Charlotte Rodstrom.
Thank you, Jack, for that lovely introduction, and thank you everyone for being here this afternoon. We are making history. We are making history right here in Fort Lauderdale today, and I am just so delighted and honored to be a small part of the history that we're making. I'm going to share a small story with you. Yes, my husband is out of town, and last night when John, my son, and I were having a late bite of dinner, he came down and he told me, "Mom, I want to tell you something. I took my history AP exam last week," and I said, "Yes." And he said, "I want to tell you, I was one of the few kids probably that got this answer right." And I said, "And what was that?" And he brought down his AP history book and he opened up the page that explained all about the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village and the start of the gay rights movement. The question was, what incident and event happened that brought on the start of the gay rights movement? And he happily answered, because he saw it in print, Stonewall. And he knew it because Stonewall is in his mommy's district. And we talk about it all the time because not only is John, my son, part of my family, but the gay and lesbian transgender community is also part of my family and part of my husband's family. So thank you very, very much. I wanted to share that with you. I'm delighted to be here. And I bet you can't wait to get inside. It's getting a little toasty. All right, thank you.
Final speaker today is a new member of the Stonewall family, and we're thrilled to welcome him. And we're sure we now have another great friend on the Fort Lauderdale City Commission. We're very proud to play the role we do in the cultural fabric of this great city, and we're delighted and pleased to welcome our new friend today, Fort Lauderdale Vice Mayor Bruce Roberts.
Very much, and it truly is an honor and it's somewhat humbling to be able to read this proclamation on behalf of the city of Fort Lauderdale. And it is hot out here, and that's not a good segue for me to read this long proclamation. I think we should take our example from the county's proclamation, a little shorter and more succinct. So please bear with me because it is important, and this is a very auspicious ceremony here. From the Office of the Mayor, City of Fort Lauderdale Proclamation. Whereas the Stonewall Library and Archives began in 1973 as the brainchild of Mark Silver, a 19-year-old activist and student at Florida Atlantic University. Mark was a bibliophile and sought to develop a comprehensive library of gay and lesbian materials. And whereas in 1984, Mark moved to New York City, but his collection of books and materials had grown too large for the move. So he organized his friends into a corporation which would grant borrowing privileges to members and conduct regular meetings. The name Stonewall was chosen to honor the significance of the 1969 Stonewall riots in New York City in the early days of the gay movement. And whereas from 1987 to 1994, the library grew and filed for tax-exempt status, the corporation reorganized and became the Stonewall Library and Archives, Inc., and named to recognize the contribution of the Southern Gay Archives, a collection of periodicals, correspondence, and other materials. And whereas in March 1997, Stonewall rented space for the Gay and Lesbian Community Center of South Florida, and in the following 3 years grew not only in numbers of books and archives, but in accessibility and diversity of programming. In May 2000, Stonewall became a tenant of the GLCCSF at its Andrews Avenue location, and for the first time, housed its entire collection under one roof. And whereas by the end of 2006, Stonewall's programming expanded to include a distinguished author lecture series, literature discussion groups, an opera appreciation group with over 8,000 patron visits a year. Also in 2006, Jack Rutland was hired as the first full-time professional executive director thanks to a grant from the John C. Graves Trust of the Community Foundation of Broward. And in 2008, Chad Thilborger was hired as the first development manager thanks to another generous grant from the Graves Trust. And whereas after the Andrews Avenue property was sold in 2006, Stonewall immediately began to look for a new home and at the same time launched its $1 million capital building and endowment campaign and raised over $780,000. And whereas after much lengthy negotiations with Broward County and Fort Lauderdale city officials, space was secured in the Fort Lauderdale Branch Library's Art Serve building at 1300 East Sunrise Boulevard. Stonewall relocated to its new space in December 2008. And whereas today, Thursday, April 23, 2009, after 36 years of serving Broward County, Stonewall Library and Archives is proud to announce the grand opening and ribbon cutting of its new home and invites all to visit their new premises. Now therefore we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim Thursday, April 23, 2009 as Stonewall Library and Archives Day in the City of Fort Lauderdale, and do congratulate Stonewall Library and Archives for its many significant achievements in serving this community. Dated this 23rd day of April 2009, signed by our Mayor and Honorable John P. Jack Seiler.
I would now like to invite Mayor Seiler, our President, Chuck Williams, and our other distinguished guests to unlock the doors of Stonewall and welcome the world. Thank you.
Ready? Let's do it.
Chief job is door opener.
Hold up the key, Jack. Hold up the key. Jack, hold up the key.
We're here with the mayor of Fort Lauderdale. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great.
I want to know your thoughts on this wonderful opening of the Stonewall Museum here. What are your thoughts today?
Well, I just thought it was important to come out and not only recognize the museum, but recognize what the museum stands for, and that's a history that is pretty significant, a history of the civil rights movement, of the human rights movement, and I thought it was important that we send a message that, here in Fort Lauderdale, we're trying to move forward. We're trying to progress as a community.
Absolutely. It is so important to see, especially you here during this event, and I think everybody feels that today, and it's really a testament for you to be here, and we thank you for being here, and we hope that you continue to support the community.
Well, one, I appreciate the invitation to be here, and I will be here. I've said for years, and for those of you that know my background, I've been in office 15 years. I look at individuals not as to their sexual orientation, but as to their contributions to the community. And when I sit here today and I look around this room, I see a lot of individuals who have contributed greatly to Fort Lauderdale, have contributed greatly to Broward County and to South Florida. And really the issue of their sexual orientation is not of significance to me. What is significant is, are these good people, are these good contributors here in the community? And in fact, I've got many friends here today, both from the gay and lesbian community, who have really made Fort Lauderdale a better place to live, to work, and to play.
Well, we thank you again for being here, and thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Charlotte Rodstrom, City Commissioner at the Stonewall opening, and thanks so much for being here. You said some really great things today at the opening. How does it feel to be here?
It feels wonderful. We have been waiting a long time. Actually, it happened relatively quick for government work to get the Stonewall here, set up, and to open the doors and cut the ribbon today. It's absolutely a perfect day, and it's a historic moment for Stonewall, for the library, and for everyone in the community.
And again, when we had the opening, you said a great story about a family story that was really, I think it touched a lot of people's hearts, and having the gay and lesbian community be part of your family were some strong words. And what's it like to support this community? What do you feel when you're out in the community and you see the people and meet the people? What do you feel?
Love, respect, admiration, enthusiasm, delight, life, all the wonderful things that you could possibly think of. It's a great thing. My husband is the county commissioner also of this district, so as you can imagine, we have quite a lot of conversation at home about what's happening in our districts that overlap, and this has been our baby, and it's part of our family and always will be, and we're both very delighted to have it here in Fort Lauderdale.
And we're so happy that you came out to support it, and please continue. You know the love that you get, we're giving it right back.
Yes,
so.
And that's why I do it, because I do get it back from you. It's wonderful. It's a great, great facility. Come down and visit in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at the Stonewall Library. You're going to love it.
Thanks very much. We're here with Sheriff Lamberti, and you're here at the opening of the Stonewall, and just want to ask you, what does it mean for you to be here for this opening?
Well, like I said early on, when I was appointed sheriff, the fact that Broward County is the most diverse county in the state of Florida, yet we lead the state in hate crimes, that's not a good thing. And that tells me that we don't understand each other enough, and we haven't accepted one another for who we are. And that's why I'm here. Nobody deserves to be a victim of any crime, let alone being targeted for who they are. Whether it's race, religion, GLBT, doesn't matter. And that's why I want to be here, to let everybody know we're looking out for everybody. A perfect example is this double robbery that happened in Oakland Park. We have reason to believe it could be a hate crime. We're going to focus on it as a hate crime until we know otherwise. And sometimes it always hasn't been that way, where if it turns out to be a hate crime later, that we'll do it. But I want to do it on the front end. If we have the suspicion, that's the way we're going to look at it until we know otherwise, and that's the case. And we need the public's help. We got a great composite sketch. we need to, you know, bring that guy to justice.
Well, and we appreciate you so much for being here. You know, I think this community often sometimes doesn't feel they get the support, but I think today's one of the days where we really feel that we have gotten support. So we thank you for being here and all the great work you're doing.
Yeah, anybody who, to me, in my opinion, anybody who wears a badge, we have an obligation to protect everybody. Everybody deserves to live in a safe community. I don't care who you are, what you stand for, and that's all my job is I want this community to be the safest community possible, and that's where we're to lend our support. We need everybody to be on the table and accept people for who they are, and that's where we're going to have a safer community.
And you mentioned that for this particular Oakland Park incident that happened, that the normal reward went up. Was that the community support that did that?
Absolutely. Normally, the Crime Stoppers rewards are $1,000. But we've had people in the community say they want to help, and they came forward, donated more money to the reward fund, and we were able to increase the reward to $4,000 for the information leading to the arrest of the suspect. And that was a direct result of people in the community coming forward saying, hey, we need to entice somebody to come forward and help us solve this crime.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sheriff, for all your support, and thanks for talking to us. Thanks for being here. We're here with Jack Rutland, Executive Director of the Stonewall Museum and Archive. Thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you for being here.
What an exciting day. What are your thoughts on the opening?
I'm been smiling so much today, my face is starting to hurt. We're extremely proud today to finally be opening our beautiful new facility here in Fort Lauderdale.
It is a beautiful facility, and what a turnout. You've had city commissioners. The mayor was here, who we talked to, and it's just been such an outpouring of support for the community. How does it make you feel to see everybody out here?
It's remarkable, and not surprising. We've had such incredible support from the Fort Lauderdale City Commission, the Broward County Commission, and I was just thrilled that they could be here today so I could personally thank them, because really without their support, this would not have happened. It was brave of them to vote to put us in here. It's not every day that a gay and lesbian organization is allowed to inhabit a city-county building. And I said in my talk earlier that it really was history being made. And when I stopped to think about that, it overwhelms me a little bit. But it truly was an extraordinary, brave thing for them to do. And I'm so appreciative of the fact that they were able to do it.
And I guess this has been a long time coming. You've put so many years and work into this. There must be a satisfaction that you have. Can you describe?
There is. It's as with any project like this. There have been steps forward, steps back, hurdles to climb over, and I think each time we've been confronted with one of those, it's made us stronger. We have found new friends in the community to support us, which I'm always just amazed by how much support we've had here. But there was never a moment when any of us who were working on this, we had a very clear vision of what this place would look like, what kind of place it would be as an organization, what kind of vision we had for it, and we haven't wavered from that one bit. And to say that for a project of this length and complexity is extraordinary. When I had a visual picture of today, it looks very much like what you see here, and
maybe you're dreaming.
I keep thinking maybe that's I haven't been sleeping very much lately, so that could be it. But I think for me that's the biggest surprise and the most pleasing part of this, that it really is what we hoped it would be. It didn't turn out as something we had to compromise about. We held fast to what we wanted to do. We fought demons when we needed to. We collaborated when we needed to. We compromised when we had to. But the final product is something that we, the community, the state, the country, can look at and say, wow, this is pretty fantastic.
And a reality. It is fantastic. Yeah. Is there a website that you could tell us about?
There is. It's www.stonewall-library.org. We update it as often as we can. Our monthly calendar is on there. We do lots and lots of events here every month, film series, lectures, exhibitions, talks. There's something going on here almost every night, and the public is welcome. They're free and open to anyone.
So everybody come on down.
Thank you. Come on down.
Thank you
We're
so
open.
Much.
Thank you.
Thank you.